Again, for the longest time, female rats were not put into rat studies.
Wow.
Because of their menstrual cycles. And we said, it's too complicated to deal with those hormones. Let's just study the male mice and apply the data.
So classic. Men are like, we don't even know how to figure that out.
Yeah. Still haven't figured out. We haven't figured out in rats, haven't figured out in humans. Still working on it. And it wasn't until, I want to say only in the last several decades that the government actually mandated that if you're going to receive federal funding from the US government, you have to have female rats in your study. And it was only then that the trend started to actually go towards that. And so those are some of the limitations of the pharma model. Here's the other thing. All clinical trials, and kind of until we came along, they were bespoke, they were custom. And so yes, you are able to better game the system if you get to kind of set up the scaffold and set up the rules. But in our model, because it's template and standardized, you don't really get to change anything. Here's the sleep study. Everything is predetermined, pre-built, ready to go. And so there's much less risk of bias that is almost kind of baked into the bespoke nature of trial, the custom nature of trials. And so in our model, we have gender parity. We are having tremendously more diverse ethnicities than, say, in a typical pharma trial.
Amazing.
What's also interesting is we have geographic diversity. So 20% are coming from rural areas, which is unheard of in pharma trials, because where do pharma trials tend to take place?
Big cities.
Urban areas, academic medical centers, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And we've had people come from all 50 US states. And these people, in addition to, yes, representing gender and ethnic diversity, it's a different lifestyle, different environmental exposures, all these things. And so now you start to create a data set that actually resembles and looks like all of us. And with a diverse data set, you can also now, using more sophisticated data analytics tools, machine learning, you can now zoom in on subpopulations. Whereas if everything's homogeneous, you can't understand what differences and variables could change someone's response to a product. But now that there's diversity, I can zoom in and be like, okay, let's take a look at diet. Let's take a look at where you live, rural versus urban. And now these become predictive factors. And for whatever reason, people in rural areas tend to benefit more in sleep from these types of products. Hey, that's still a useful insight to help people more quickly arrive at something that's going to work for them.
That's really cool. Are there any other shortcomings of modern clinical trials besides that? Like what are we looking at versus like what you're doing versus how we see it right now in the standard allopathic model? Yeah,
I think, the diversity thing's a big detriment. The cost is just, again, absolutely prohibitive.
Yeah.
So the typical stat you hear, somewhere in the kind of hundreds of millions up to excess of billions for a pharma drug to get through FDA approval. So I don't fault them that in that situation that it's so expensive, you better damn well have a patentable product. And therefore you instantly are only looking at synthetic options that don't exist in the natural world. You can't really patent. It's really difficult to patent things in the natural world. And so that high speed or that high cost and that slow speed just cripples the ability for anyone who doesn't follow that model to go get evidence, to go get trials. And so you kind of started off the interview earlier with this, but by lowering the cost and speed to the way that we have, and it's actually several orders of magnitude, it's somewhere around 100 to 1,000x cheaper. And it's about 10x faster than, say, a pharma trial. And in our model, for these wellness brands, they go, oh, well, I don't need a patent to invest in clinical research. I have a brand, the data's tied to my brand, and I have this product. And do I go spend this money on like some billboard ads? Or do I go spend this money proving that my product works, which is a permanent, durable, long-lasting differentiation? And so we get really excited about these.